Well, hello. This is Jeff with Final Boss Editing. How you doing today? I'm gonna add my little priority edit bit on the bottom because that's always fun, especially because this is a priority edit. I'll put this right down here. Across the little bottom bar here. Alright. Like this. Okay, so here we go. We're going to be editing Imp3nded's novel. First 10 pages tonight. So excited to take a look. Here we go. So this is a detective. Let me see. Oops. Did I mess it up? No. This is a crime novel. About 1,400 words, so 14,000 words so far. First attempt at writing a first-person novel. Follows Detective Samuel Sanderson and his partner Kimberly Lee. Has passed later with demons and hells, and he comes across a crime scene that resurfaces those beasts. For the victim is one of his friends from high school a dozen years ago. Story juggles a present of Sam as a detective and his past in high school. As disclaimer, this novel has profanity, and it gets vulgar. That's okay. Just be aware, people who watch, that there will potentially be some profanity in this. There's something about demons, and I don't mean the shit I read to my nephew when I visit the North Georgia mountains. I'm talking about a person's past, those sinful secrets that lurk within, the metaphorical ones that make you feel like you have a monster nestled in your rib cage, crawling at your scabbed black heart, making sure you never ever forget the deeds you've committed. Those demons, they shame you. There are no bandages or antiseptic for such scars. You can't reach into your chest and caress the pain away. So I think in first person you can strong opening. I would think there's something about demons. I think I like the opening. The one thing I think about, yeah, I mean, I think I think you should always rework these first sentences. Like something is a little bit vague. Because you kind of want to get to some concrete specifics pretty early on in your novel if you can. So like for example, like it could be I hate demons, and I don't mean the shit I read to my. It's like I could portray more of an emotion. There's something about demons could mean a lot of things. And I know you're kind of going for that ambiguity, but like if I was to write this, I'd be like, I hate demons, and not just the demons I read about in the Georgia mountains. Yeah. Or just even starting with like I don't know if this sentence is like super. I'm gonna put it on suggesting. Something about demons. And you could maybe do this a comma. Make that lowercase. Make that one. There's something about Siemens, comma. Those sinful secrets lurking in a person's past. Metaphorical ones make you feel like you have a monster nestled in your ribcage. Calling at your back, scabbed black heart, making sure you never ever forget the deeds you've committed. No amount of time served, it's behind bars on a sofa. Don't ever get too comfortable. So I don't know how does this relate to the above? Was he comfortable? Seemed to need Hyatt newly waxed, midnight, black Nissan Maxima. The parking lot was full. Fulton County police cars, quiet ambience. I guess there wasn't a need for lights and alarms when a victim inside the hotel was already dead, or at least that's what I assumed. I was a homicide detective after all. I would just describe the scene. This commentary feels off since the surprise of no lights or alarms would be obvious to him, so he wouldn't comment on it. So remember, when you're doing first person, and even when you're doing a close third person, you need to Imp3nded, what's up? Just hold on, I'm turning off all these silly Periscope things because it's just getting annoying. Hedge, hi, hello, haja, spam, bot, regard, turtle, hedge, derp. I apologize. I didn't realize that the spammers were afoot. Hedge, derp. 5 final edits. Okay, gonna go back to lurking. What's up, Orange Sama? Well, welcome, Orange. Always welcome to hang out. With a hi on my phone for Google Docs. I didn't even know it did that. Nice. The something is answered 5 lines or 6. That's true. That's very true. It probably is true Imp3nded, but I would, if it's ever answered later, it's always a bit of a risky. I know, per your synopsis, that it's one of his high school friends that's part of this crime scene. But I still, though I like the setup, I think just that particular phrasing right here just comes, it doesn't seem to be like to like. Because don't ever get too comfortable is like a direct, and then that's where I found myself. That's not a place or a state of being, because that was a direct address to the reader. So I think it's almost more the sentence structure that's not working. Lives with you forever. Yeah, still, I don't know. Comfortable just doesn't really, I don't know. But my other point is, in close third person or in first person, you have, like, if it's not a surprise to that character, it feels a bit fabricated to make them be like, I guess there wasn't a need for lights. Well, it's like, If this is something that's run of the mill for him, he probably knows there's a need for lights. So it's not this surprising revelation. So just be like, there were no lights, you know, kind of what you're doing. The parking lot was full of Fulton County Police and a quiet ambulance. You know, the lack of lights told me that this crime scene was a few days old already. Whatever. I didn't know much about the case, with Chief Jennings shooing me out to the precinct the moment I had walked in at the crack of dawn. Needless to say, I was tired as I waited for the 2 empty cans of Red Bull in my center cup holders to knock me into gear. We're doing a lot of jumping. I don't know if I need to jump out of the scene right now. We can assume that he got a call. Yeah, so like these mid changes here, like okay, morning, Sanderson, Jenkins said gruesome murder at the High Buckhead. I need you there now. Detective Lee's already on scene. I'm sure you're curious as to why I wasn't addressed as detective, but Pink Ranger Kimberly was. Some would say it was because of Rocky's past. The chief and I shared, and they'd probably be right. Those pesky demons. I stepped out of the car and smoked. So, like, yeah, this doesn't tell me too much. So I would just go like that and get to it. I stepped out of my car and soaked the black. And you can work this exposition in. But the reason I would kind of cut those out is because every time you shift scenes, every time you jump out and jump back in. Oh, I was talking about the first line of the story. It was a while ago. Oh, they shame you. Yeah. When you said something was vague, that's saying it's answered 5 lines down. I say they shame you. Ah, I see. And jokes in his voice. I see. Just warning you. Oh, that works. I like it. Cool. That's good to know. Get the voice. But yeah, just whenever, especially in first person, let us settle into the scene. So you brought us into the scene. If you really want the call, I would make a little mini scene up here where he's like, I was driving around and I got the call. Like, this is where you could put the call scene, but I don't think it's necessary. I really think that you kind of have you made the right intuition, which is getting to the crime scene. I don't think we need because if the reader can intuit what would have led him there, like of course the chief gave him a call. Unless it's some sort of surprising revelation, it's probably not necessary to share. If the reader could be like, oh yeah, like you know, this chief probably did call him to get him there. I stepped out of my car and soaked in the bleak beauty of the winter clouds above. When I took, you do have a lot of alliteration. I don't know if it's purposeful. It's not necessarily bad. Just be aware. Usually, if not intentional, for a specific or change. Like so, unless you're trying to make a specific effect with the alliteration, usually worth it to cut it out. But you know, if it's there for a reason, that's awesome. Then I took a glance at my reflection. Since it was a bit, I wore gray felt cardigan. Okay, so be careful. So this is a very common. That wasn't intentional. My bad. No, that's totally fine. That's just something to be aware of. There is actually a lot of really powerful techniques that little powerful effects that alliteration can have, especially if you're, you know, going the more Virginia Woolf style and, you know, kind of more the modern writer style where the language and the sound of the language is extremely important. to getting the meaning of the sentence. So that's fine. So, you can make a word hit really hard or make a harsh sound a lot harsher by alliterating it. And that's in the style guide. I think I have that. Yeah, there you go. Style glossary. Gosh, I know all my commands. So yeah, so download that style glossary. That gives you some good examples of all the tools that alliteration can be used to heighten the impact of a sentence. But yeah, so then I took a glance at my reflection. But the reflection, the hero looking at his reflection, is always tough. This is a trope. So yeah, and I know where you're coming from, because you as the writer want us to see what he looked like exactly. But the mirror is always risky. But it can be exactly adjusting your looks. Or it's like, hey, I dusted some snow off the top of my, and you have to work it in pretty carefully. So if he's really tall, you describe all, how he's towering over everybody, and he's like, I'm looking at all these short people around me. So you can still communicate that stuff, or like if someone like gives me a weird look and he's like, I must have looked like hell. I hadn't slept all night, and last I checked, I had, shovel deep bags under my eyes. Those types of things. Aloe vera, the power for editing. But those types of things can give this same information, but in a way that's a little bit less, done. And it's just fun as a writer. Think of the more challenging way to get this across, and it usually works a lot better. Because it'll be surprising, because everybody, sometimes will take the easier way. And most importantly, I had gone to the barber yesterday, so my hairline was edged to perfection. I had to look as good as the accolades that hung in my office back at the precinct. As I walked into the hotel's front entrance, I saw my partner, Detective Lee, seated on the bench. She was leaned forward. I would just say she leaned. Whenever you have these infinitives, no need to break. Yeah. 667, how's it going? Welcome, welcome. We are doing the priority edits for Imp3nded. How are you, good Sal? How are you? Hopefully life is good. When she made eye contact with me, she shot up and brushed. She leaned forward with her elbows on her knees, but when she made eye contact with me, she shot up and brushed the loose black hair from her face. She seemed a bit rattled for something she experienced almost every day. We haven't. I mean, I see, like, or maybe it's just being more specific, Yeah, so this one here, she seemed a bit rattled for something she experienced almost every day. So again, I feel like some of the vague language that's getting used is making it a little bit harder for the reader to be on the same page as the writer. And there's a really good lecture by Brandon Sanderson where he talks about this. And what he says is there is a pyramid of abstraction. You have your big abstract concepts like hope, love, those types of things, and it gets more concrete. And the more concrete your writing is, the better, because when I read, she seemed a bit rattled. That could be her hands shaking, that could be her rocking back and forth. When 667 reads, she seemed a bit rattled. She admired more cadavers than life and breathing humans. I know, the next sentence. But when 667 reads rattled, I'm less talking about the cause and more that the effect is too vague. Rattled is an abstraction. Her face looked a bit green is more concrete and specific. Or her hands were shaking. Sorry, I may have mishighlighted it. Yeah, sorry, I'll note that it's rattled. Rattled. And it's the difference between, if I tell you to imagine a dog, you may think of a Great Dane. 667 might think of, whatever. But if I say imagine a Schnauzer, mostly everybody will have a picture of a cute little gray dog with a nice and fluffy beard. So that's the same thing here. Rattled can look different for a lot of people. So you can use it as a character development moment for Detective Lee. How does she react when she's rattled? How does she behave when she's rattled? Does she, check her phone? Or is she, like chewing on her fingernails? Or pacing? Or, trying to like do her hair over and over again? Like, what does that look like for her? And we'll get to know her better, and it will be more of a concrete image. She had met more cadavers in her life than breathing humans. What got you so shook? I asked as she walked. I feel like he has that, deep, private eye voice. Don't worry about me. I shot her a baffled glance. What in the hell was that supposed to mean? As we stepped in the elevator, I asked, what am I about to walk into? Our lack of banter is unnerving. So I like the fact that we have interiority. We have a question, and interiority is good. But because he asks her almost the same question down here, I think this is not necessary because we're kind of already getting it in the sentence below. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that. Oops. She retrieved a pair of latex gloves from her coat pocket. Those demons you've tried to run out your entire life, they've caught up. What? It's hard for me to believe that this character would reference his past using the same language, especially because we haven't established that it's something that he talks about a lot. Would another Yeah, so those are the questions that come up in the reader as well. Okay, how does this lady know about his demons and his past in such detail? Especially because if it really is truly this like shame, like because he's describing these demons as these sources of deep shame. They shame you. It's hard for me, the reader, because when I do something shameful or I'm ashamed about something, the last thing I'm going to do is going to tell my business partner about it. At least my least natural inclination. There may be this awesome relationship between these partners where they can be really vulnerable with each other. Yes, so I would just set it up. Maybe she hugs him. They're so tough. So I think that's what you're going. She's the only person who knows the real truth. That's awesome. So meeting or interaction, she seems way too sterile for me to believe that. If they're BFFs, I need to see this in the first way they interact. Yeah, maybe they don't hug, but maybe it's like fist bump, or maybe they do some sort of thing where, like, you know, where like she hands him a sandwich and he hands her a cup of coffee. But that's still not very vulnerable. It's very hard. You're gonna have that really tight relationship between partners is not something a reader will assume, especially in procedural crime. Some other things, if it's a brother and sister, that's one thing. But you need to focus on that early. Show me that they're this close much earlier. Or else it doesn't seem believable. Or I'm like, I guess he tells his demons, because you mentioned earlier that the captain is somehow aware. The rocky path. Yeah, so the captain knows about his demons here. So does like everybody know about his demons, or is it just like this group of people? I don't know. Kimberly looked up with austere eyes and said a little too plainly, "The victim has been identified as Becky Stewart." S. No. My gaze caught. Went straight to the red button on the elevator control panel. I wanted to press it to stop this cage of steel from raising me to my hell. I wanted to turn back time like I was the Flash. Just absolutely haul ass until I was in bed 3 hours ago. Then I could call out sick and avoid this disaster. F it. I knew Kimberly would be mad, but I smashed every button on the panel anyways, lighting the shit up like a Christmas tree. She tackled me into the wall, my hip awkwardly slamming into the handrail. Beware the adverb. That's not necessarily. I would define this action a little bit more. This seems like an extreme. This is described as more extreme than I think you intend. Oh, I spelled intend weird. There we go. Seems like super hardcore. Which gets explained in the next 2 chapters. Yeah, the procedural crime voice is important, I feel like. This is part of being a cop. They know what he's done. Okay. So, but yeah, I feel like you may be well served by establishing whatever it is, because you're envisioning something that I'm not getting, which is okay. I mean, this is an early draft. But I would focus, because it seems like it's important to making the character interactions make sense, is how they relate to each other. So I would just encourage you to spend a little bit of time setting up that relationship even before you get into the story. Give me a way to see how different they are, because it's not like, it's not like a normal coworker. Like, I don't share all my deepest, darkest secrets with all my coworkers. Water, it's good. But so there is something different here. We just need to get that as the reader. Tackled me into the wall. I wrestled her for what felt like a minute as the elevator door opened at every floor. Each time I lunged for freedom, and each time I was met with an elbow in my gut or a foot in my crotch. God damn it, I whined. Stop your Pink Ranger kung fu. The only reason why I called her Pink Ranger is because she said the same name as my childhood crush, Kimberly, the Pink Power Ranger, and since she was Asian, the whole kung fu thing made sense to me. Silent martial arts change depending on the day. Today I felt like saying Kung Fu. Yeah, I'd say the wind is a bit, this dialogue doesn't seem necessary. Yeah, this character doesn't seem like a whiner. So I don't think that's necessary. And also, you don't need as many dialogue tags as you think you need. So we have the whole reason why I called her Pink Ranger. So this also feels like kind of a random aside. Like, so he's talking about his past. The first thing I'd expect him to think about is who this person is. Like, or maybe being like, okay, so he goes to the buttons. I couldn't see Becky again. She was, so he's talking about, so like the next interiority section should be, about Becky. This interiority seems random, like a random aside. Would he really be thinking about a nickname when his darkest demons came back? The next section of interior thought would probably be recapping what happened in his past. So if you see some, girl you used to date that, you had this dark, horrible breakup with, and you're with your friend who you call Billy Bob. You and Billy Bob are, his real name is Bill, but you call him Billy Bob. And you and Billy Bob are walking through the mall and you see this chick and you like dive and hide and you make Billy Bob hide you. The first thing you think about is not going to be why you nicknamed Billy Bob Billy Bob. The first thing you think about is like, oh my gosh, I haven't talked to her since she, poured hot water on my lap because she was so mad and she was fake making me tea, but she was really trying to torture me. Oh, she's so mean. So that's what, after the action, which is right, you have that ordered correctly, because he should immediately viscerally react, and then we get into his thoughts down here. But once we get to his thoughts, I would really strongly encourage you to consider making them relate to the revelation, because this seems a bit tangential to what he's just discovered. All was for naught, and the door finally opened on the 8th floor. Yellow tape boarded off a room down the hall, and there were a couple of cops milling within the vicinity. "Let's go, Limp Dick," she commanded. So the bantering seems a little bit... So she seemed to be so sensitive. She was so sensitive a moment ago, and she just kicked his ass to keep him in the elevator. This levity seems a bit cartoonish. Like, I don't... unless this is supposed to have a more jokey and silly tone, which by all means is fine. I think jokey and silly tone and fun stuff like this is the best. But I would make sure that you intend for that tone to be coming across, because it feels like a little bit like slapstick when it feels like you're trying to have kind of a dark scene, especially with referencing Demon and kind of his fear of what's in this room. So I feel like your dialogue is at a different level, at a more lighter tone level than the content of the scene. So I feel like your content and your tone isn't really matching right now. Hello, 667. What is that, cheese? Stinky cheese. Is that to reference like cheesiness? I'm confused. Is that like whenever I write something cheesy? I write a lot of cheesy things, so I mean that's why I write on stream, so you guys and everybody who submits their work for editing, which is a really scary thing, but you guys can all see that I struggle with a lot of the same challenges. So that's why I write on stream so much, because you guys can, when I do edit your work, you'll be able to look and say, oh yeah, boss makes the same mistakes, and he writes some cheese every now and then. I don't think this is cheesy personally, but I don't know if that's what it means. I adjusted my cardigan and placed my hands on my face, sliding them down as I prepared for myself what would be in the room. I walked to the hitch, my man parts still tender from the beating they took. Cheap shots. So yeah, again, the interior is not matching the context. Another tone. Tone seems, yeah, it's funny, but tone doesn't match with context of the scene you've set up. So you've set up this as being these dark, horrible demons, but they're being so nonchalant about it, I begin to think the demons really aren't so dark and dangerous, and I kind of, it's fine. I ducked under the caution tape and stopped before I could see inside the room. I was delaying the inevitable, but it felt like every second I salvaged was an extra breath of fresh air. Kimberly strolled past while the cops briefed me on what I was about to see. Could have easily had her do this for me. But this was another stalling tactic. Thanks, officers, I said, slapping on my latex gloves. I walked into hell tailored specifically for me. Just a flat-screen television on the wall and an assortment of pretty nice furniture. What does pretty nice furniture mean? We need to be more specific. Again. Higher. Whatever. This is like a kind of a silly joke. Unlike the depictions I've seen in movies, there were no flames, but there was a demon. She was propped against the headboard of a queen-size bed. Blood pooled around her stomach, dampening the white linen. The cheese was an accident. Oh, I see. That happens. Whenever someone cuts the cheese, it tends to be an accident. Remember that this is the first draft, and I haven't read through it all to make it, so beware of typos and may have some reticence. Oh, no worries. It's totally fine. It's totally fine. That's the point of getting it edited. Don't worry. I will not, shake my fist and be like, shame, shame, shame. No, I think, my goal is to try to find, any opportunities. And I don't know if you can tell, but I'm not focusing too heavily on sentence level stuff. I'm trying to pick out more themes and maybe some general ideas you can work on. And I'll kind of summarize them at the end. But, the things that I noticed so far that could be some challenges in future drafts is a lot of your descriptions, at least as you're doing it in first person, tend to be a little too abstract. Pretty nice furniture. It should be, a marble table cut into a sharp modern square, whatever that means, So just drilling it into the actual what the furniture looks like. The other thing I think might be a big opportunity is making sure the interiority, what's being thought about, follows the logical flow. So kind of like the illustration I was giving about two people walking in the mall. One of them sees their ex-girlfriend. He's not thinking about his friend's nickname right then. He's thinking about Oh my gosh, the last time I saw her, this happened. It was terrible. Um, so those, so matching the interiority a lot, and then the tone. There seems to be, at least in these next later pages, a few issues with kind of having these very joking, funny tone. But then this person in the scene, the content of the scene, he's actually terrified to go into this room. So I feel like the tone and the content are a little bit dissonant. So those are my kind of big three right now. I think everything else is flowing pretty smoothly. So yeah, I hope I wouldn't beat yourself over the back too hard. Turns everything into a joke until he's directly faced with his demons. Got it. But I would question. So I feel that once he hears that person's name, I feel that at that point he's been directly faced. Like he's there. Like he's terrified. He knows what's in that room. So I wonder. That makes a lot of sense. But I wonder if that timing is maybe a little bit late in this draft. Where if it was me, I feel that if I was a person going through this situation, by the time I heard that person's name, I would have kind of lost my levity a little bit, because at that point I would feel like the character would be confronted. She was propped against the headboard. It wasn't just legible at forced distance. There was a bullet hole in the dead center of her forehead. Brain matter splattered against the wood panel behind her. I cringed. It wasn't a reaction. It was a reaction I hadn't expressed to a crime scene since I was a rookie. There was something different about a dead body when it was a person you knew. Damn it. My heart of stone, hardened from decades of my demon's talons, had finally fissured, resurfacing the vilest of wounds. Yeah. I would show this. So you already do such a great job showing his reaction and showing me how he's, a crime scene examiner who's finally shocked by a crime scene. I don't think you need this, pretty abstract image. We already kind of get it. Was this her room? Nope, supposed to be vacant. How'd they identify her so quickly? Phone? No phone, but her license just sitting on the nightstand. I inched my way closer as if I spotted one of those disgusting flying roaches in my den. The thought made me quiver. I may have even raised my hand in the air like I had a shoe in it, ready to swat this demon out of existence. I really... the demon... probably doesn't... yeah. I mentioned demon notes, all cutbacks once the reader already gets the gist of it. Yep, that's exactly my note. It's sort of a law of... It's very similar to economics. It's a law of diminishing returns. If I go and get my first ice cream cone, I'm happy. If in an hour I get another ice cream cone, I'm happier. If I get another ice cream cone in 3 hours, I'm a little bit less happy, but I'm happy. And then if I get force-fed another ice cream cone, then I'm kind of sad, and I'm like, okay, I got enough ice cream. And then they give you another ice cream cone, and then you're like, okay, no more ice cream. And then they just keep smashing ice cream cones out of your mouth, and then it actually becomes a detriment. I'm unhappy by getting more of the product. So I would just know that you're probably on the farther side of the law of diminishing returns for that particular image. And as you trim it back, you may find that its impact in the times you sparingly use it is even stronger. Looks like a pistol shot to the head. Oh, looks like a pistol shot to the head, likely from the foot of the bed. My parser yawned. Bullet can't be found, so I can't tell exactly what we're dealing with here. For F's sake, Kimberly, she could have showed a little sympathy for what I was feeling. When I'm a mixed baby, but with the color that had drained from my face, you'd think I could have done hitting a puck with a stick. White joke, hockey reference. Somehow I managed to approach the victim's bedside. I finally gazed down and studied what was carved into her stomach. 115. I looked back toward the door. What room number are we in? Not 115, genius, replied Kimberly. That was a dumb question, but it proved how flustered I was. Becky's dead green eyes staring off into space, her blood-soaked sandy brown hair matted behind her head. This was my nightmare. I need to start, he's a cop from South Park. His voice is more like yours or mine? Okay. So I won't do the cop voice. I'm a cop. I'm a cat. Yeah, and I think this goes to the note I was giving a little bit about demons and using that image. I think it kind of goes back to that abstraction. The demons is an abstraction of his past. At a certain point, you have to stop using that abstraction of demons and actually tell us what happened. Or at least give us some really good hints about the nature of the relationship with these characters. So I think that, in this particular one, for example, like we know that he's encountering his demons. Now you need to start getting concrete and specific about what those demons are, why this bothers him so much, because especially in first person, where we're given so much access to the character's thoughts, we're given so much access to his memories. We know that a normal, sane person, when seeing or confronting something like this, especially something out of his past, would immediately think about the situation. So it feels a little bit contrived by the writer to hide it and be like, okay, this is going to be this cool thing you're going to see later, so I'm going to, not tell you about it yet. But there has to be a really good reason for him not to think about what it is. So in most cases, if something, happens, if this guy's a jerk to me, if I see the ex-girlfriend and, I'm walking with my friend, I'm going to think about the ex-girlfriend. I'm not going to think about my friend's nickname. And if the writer describes me thinking about his nickname as ex-girlfriend walks by, it's going to feel a little bit contrived unless it's explained. If you're like, I don't want to think about what happened, so I'm just going to think about, why I named Kimberly or, Pink Power Ranger. So those are things to think about as well. Revoke this pet's permission to live. Would any of those be better than the roach seen above? That's true. Exercise those demons. I like it, Ono. And hello, by the way. How are you, Ono? Hopefully all is well. All is well on the Western Front. Life is good. Peace and happiness reign across the land. Hello. Good to see you. The ringing sound pierced through the room, seeming to help us yelp out of my throat. He seems way more... He seems way more of a pansy than I'd expect, especially... Oops. So he's not a detective. Okay, he's not the detective I think he is. Okay, granted. My one encouragement, and maybe this is why I feel like getting concrete details may be so important for this story, because we get, all these references about how he's seen so many bodies and how, oh yeah, like we've seen a bit more cadavers than our life than breathing humans. Those are the types of lines I expect from a, rough, I'm a tough cop guy. But if he is a normal guy, the tone, especially in these areas early on, I feel like I'm, as a reader, when I'm getting lines like this, I'm being pointed to him being like a hardened, tough detective. So I would rethink. So if he really is this like softer, gentler guy, I would really rethink how you're setting up the exposition about him, especially when it comes to the stuff he's already done. He talks a good fight. Concrete details come in Act 2 and Act 3 of this chapter. So I think that's fine, Imp3nded. The one thing I would do then is you probably don't need as much interiority. You have a lot of his thought, so you either, make it feel honest. So make him think about what he would normally think about, which is who this woman is that was killed, or don't report on the thought for a while and just have him be like, I walked into the room dazed. I didn't know what to do. So you can do less interiority and we, the reader. So I think the thing that makes it hard is when you have interiority, but it's not interiority or thoughts. You have him thinking and talking about what he's thinking about, but his thoughts are like a million miles away about Kimberly's nickname as the Pink Power Ranger. So, or very vague thoughts where he's thinking about this dead woman that he knows, but only in terms of demons from his past, which is so vague. So I really think you're right in the way that you may need to either not report on those thoughts, just dial down the interiority until you feel comfortable revealing it to the reader. So maybe he walks in and there's sweat dripping down my face and I just can't bear to see her face again. That's okay. But whenever you go deep into thought and a lot of this like explanation, that's when the reader is expecting, okay, we're going deep into thought. I'm assuming these thoughts are going to be about this. So, and you can take it or leave it, but the way I would approach it is I would either reduce the interiority early on if I don't want to go into detail about her, about the past, or I would make the thought actually be about those things and bring those facts in a little bit earlier, at least only the important ones. Okay. Embarrassing. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my Galaxy. The screen read, Bay. Do you know the balls it took to be 30 years old and casually throw around such a term? Do you know the ridicule I faced from the guys at the bar? It took massive cojones. I swiped the answer button. What up, hon? So, nothing's wrong with being 30 and saying Bay, alright? So, excuse me. Nothing wrong with getting old. So freaking old. Jeez. Where did my youth go? Anyways, do you know the ridicule I face daily from the guys at the bar? It took massive cojones. Swipe the answer button. What up, hun? Hey, baby, she replied in that cute voice I'd come to love so much. Too bad I was going to have to hang up on it. I just done this 16-hour shift. I can't believe I made it through without Dr. Kelsey trying to correct me on, babe, I gotta go. I'm staring at Becky Stewart's corpse right now. Sorry, the way he delivers these lines, I feel like age is a mind over matter thing. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter. It's true. Thank you, Oh No, It's the Grenier. I appreciate that. I'm not getting younger. I'm sure as hell not getting prettier. I'm a cop, damn it. So these kind of lines still feel like South Park cop. Lines have some South Park copy. Oops. Yeah, like something like that. Like, babe. Like, so this seems like a much tougher voice. Babe, I gotta go. I'm staring at Becky Stewart's corpse right now. Like, that's super hardcore. Like, it doesn't feel like the guy who's like, embarrassing. I named my girlfriend Bae. And also, he's thinking about why he named his girlfriend's Bae and how it's so embarrassing that he named his girlfriend Bae on his phone. But his dead friend's right in front of him. And so that seems a little bit contrived that he's thought about everything else except the dead friend. And you can pull that off because it could be a way of coping for him. But you need to show that then. Because I feel like this is more accidental than it is intentional. And that's okay in a first draft. But I feel like if you really want to show him thinking about something else, he could be talking, jittering on about some random nonsense. And everyone's like, dude, are you all right? And he's like, no. Like, it's weird that my phone is called Bae. And then he's like weeping. And so, like, there's ways you can show that. But I feel like this isn't accomplishing that if that was your intent. At least just yet. It may just take another draft or another just couple of tweaks. Kimberly stopped shifting through the drawers to look at me. Should I dig your grave now or wait till your wife kills you later? My phone rang. I silenced it. So why did he answer it the first time? Oh, the whole city of Atlanta knew it. Kimberly and I were top detectives at the ripe ages of 30 and 28. We'd tracked and bagged criminals as fatal and exclusive as the Yeti. So I aimlessly poked and prodded around, my mind too heavy with demons of my past. I'll read it in normal voice, but those are the lines, like these extreme comparisons. Like, so using extreme comparison is like what South Park Cop does. This pushes his tone into South Park Cop a little more.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-oh. Oh, no, it's the... Oh, shizzle, it's the Grenizzle. Donate $100.
Carry on.
Oh, no. Thank you so much. Oh, my gosh. Jeez, I'm going to have to take the Foxy Lady out to dinner. A nice steak dinner. Yeah, well, I wish I could give you, like, I want to be able to give you subscriber status. Because I feel like, you know, you've pretty much subscribed for, like, the next 12 months. Squander it. Use it all on blow and cocaine. Oh, shizzle, it's the Grenizzle. I hope you created a whole new account just for that. That's pretty amazing. Well, thank you. That is so generous and so kind. And it will keep Final Boss Editing online. So yes, pay my website bills with it. So I can keep my domain open. But thank you, Oh No, It's the Grenier. As always, donations are never required, but I do greatly appreciate it. You put the donation on the stream with the Twitch username next to it. Oh, okay. Wow, I'm impressed. That's so kind. Oops, I want to go. I'm gonna be amazed. Thank you so much. I know there was a message, so I want to read it. But thank you. My roommate's not in town, so maybe I'll actually play piano tonight as a reward. But there's nothing to see here, people. Carry on as you were. Keep up the good work. Okay, so you want to play it cool. That's fine. The value of the work you do makes that amount fade. You're welcome. Well, thank you, Ono. Much obliged. I will honor your wishes and not make too much of a big pizzazz about it, but thank you. I do appreciate it. And yeah, hopefully this helps. But let me go ahead and see where I'm at. 6 out of 54. Okay, so I'm going to keep cranking here because I want to make sure that that Imp3nded gets a fair shake. But I do want to somehow give you subscriber status. I don't know. Maybe I'll make you a moderator. You know, you probably have earned that at this point. I don't know how to give you a subscriber. If somebody knows how to do that online, let me know. Anyways, while I aimlessly poked and prodded around, my mind too heavy with the demons of my past, I luckily stumbled upon a bloody knife in a bathroom drawer. I picked it up with careful hands and examined the handle and blade for prints. I'm just gonna change this to gloved. Just because I'm just like, is he not put on? I haven't seen him put on gloves yet. The deep, scruffy voice. Yeah, please do. Maybe it's just my. Sometimes when and this is one of the downsides of trying to be silly and entertaining on a stream. One of the downsides of trying to be silly and entertaining on stream is that you use silly voices, and then sometimes things sound. Maybe I read that into it. So it's very likely that I read the silly voices into the work. So it may just be me, full disclosure. But it's one of the prices I pay to try to hopefully keep it, the stream fun and silly. Of course, but I will read in a normal voice from now and see if I don't notice it. Of course, there was nothing. There was always nothing. A murder of this caliber was committed by someone who was careful enough to only leave behind the details they wanted people like us, the detectives, to probe. I dumped the steak knife into a clear baggie. A steak knife? Really? Becky was carved into by a dull blade. Did the perp shoot, then cut her? Or the other way around? Ugh, I couldn't even imagine the pain of someone butchering my stomach while I was still alive to feel it. I stared at myself. Goblin, yeah. Gilbert Gottfried. It's not like the Harry Carey. Let's see if we can get a clip of that for you guys.
The voice of a cartoon character. What voice is this from?
Aladdin.
Aladdin, he plays a parrot.
Yeah.
And in fact, drew the parrot, but I have a point. Persona and the off-air persona.
I can't believe it. I just don't believe it. We're never gonna get a hold of that stupid lamp. Just forget it. Look at this. Look at this. I'm so ticked off that I'm molting.
Patience, Iago, patience. The theme was obviously less than one.
Have you ever watched his cartoons?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Now, what are you saying?
Well, you should see him. You know how when celebrities watch their work at the Tonight Show? Just see Gilbert very serious during his club.
I don't believe it. Of course, there was nothing. Oh, it was always nothing. A murder of this caliber was committed by someone who was careful enough to only leave behind the details they wanted people like us to probe.
My throat is going to start bleeding if I keep doing that, so there was my one. Sounded more like someone from Jersey, but whatever. Stare at myself in the mirror, exiting the bathroom. Bleed for the art, boss. Bleed for the art. Very true. Oh no, very true. Hey, Erica Drayton, how's it going? Bye. I entered the bathroom and handed the evidence over to my partner. She examined it before saying, makes sense. She nudged her head in the direction of a table. A plate of cold, half-eaten steak and mashed potatoes sat on it. So he or she used a hotel knife. That doesn't do us any good. Nope, and without the bullet, we don't really have any physical evidence of use. There are fingerprints everywhere, but something tells me they are all the victims. We sent them to the lab anyways. Maybe we'll get lucky. As my gaze skirted around the room, I asked, what about the surveillance in the lobby or any other public spaces? Detective Lee got up from her knees and said their system has been down for a few days. There was a hiccup in upgrading their software, according to their security guy. Rather convenient, I said with disbelief. Hotel swears they didn't make public knowledge. Still, I feel like we need to really start getting this. What is this demon? I feel like we've not talked about the specifics of the demon for too long. If in normal, it would have come up in thought or word by now. Yeah, so I feel like whether it's in dialogue or whether it's his reported thoughts, I would need to know. I think that I would expect at least a hint at the context of this demon. Like, I just know it's bad. That's it. And he's shamed about it. But did he date her? Even if it was like it was my ex-girlfriend, something like that would give us enough access to be okay. But I think at this point we've gotten pretty much no hint at the direction of it. I don't think you need to spill the whole beans. You don't need to tell me everything. But it could be like, hey, I hadn't seen, this girl that was killed since the day that I, threw her out of my car on the bridge and told her to go to hell. Like, that easy, that's enough for us to go on. I was like, okay, they had a conflicted relationship. Boom, we're good. So I think I would just push you towards not necessarily having to give us the whole story, but some of it is beginning to feel very like noticeably kind of absent, and I think that's starting to jar the read a little bit. Yeah, I would definitely speak a little bit more. Awesome. Instead of waiting for the end of the chapter, oh, why a demon? Why not a ghost? That's true. I feel like those are sometimes interchangeable, where you can have demons in your past or ghosts of your past. Both work, but that's a good point. Maybe there is something more accurate about the word using ghost as well. I gazed back at Becky's body, which means it might have been an employee. Kimberly shook her head. Unless someone who works here personally knew Becky, I doubt it. This was a very raw, emotional, and invested murder. Yeah, figure of speech, yeah. Excuse me. I ate a bunch of who knows what for Game of Thrones, and I'm like, well. Also, wasn't Game of Thrones awesome tonight? Or a skeleton in someone's closet. Very true, very true. So you as the writer, you don't have to tell us now, but should have a pretty darn good reason for pick, especially since you use that metaphor a lot. You should have a pretty darn good reason for having chosen that metaphor. God was sick. I know, it was pretty good. Arya Stark, though. She was right. There were years of animosity. Okay. There were years of built-up animosity behind this act. It was a crime of passion. Let's get their employee list and find out. While Kimberly walked outside and asked an officer to fetch the hotel manager with instructions to bring it in, I stayed inside and observed the body some more. She was topless, breasts exposed, but she wore a tight-fitted leather skirt, and there was a pair of heels strewn carelessly on the floor. Clearly she had spent the night out, but it could have been anywhere in Atlanta, Buckhead, Midtown, who knew? So I acted on a hunch. Her right wrist was bare, but her left wrist was hidden under the covers. I pulled them back and saw a set of neon bracelets. She'd gone to a club, which ruled out restaurants and other locations, but this was Atlanta, a city littered with all kinds of clubs. My partner walked in and I asked, when a girl goes to a club, she usually goes with at least one friend, correct? Girl power and all that jazz? Not quite in the demeaning way you put it, but yes, we don't take a night on the town without backup. I held the victim's wrist. Well, then let's go find her squad. So squad goals. Don't get murdered. The modern language is good, but will date your work. Where? So yeah, just be aware when you use modern language like bay or squad or stuff like that, it will date your work to the 2010s, right? So just be aware that that's going to start happening. That as your book ages, so let's say this book gets published, it's going to get a ton of fame and fortune. But 20 years from now, when people are still reading it, they're going to be like, what does going out into the squad mean? So, yeah, I don't see her living. Yeah, I think Arya might die, which is sad. Why in the closet? Why not in the trunk of the bathtub? The closet is an odd place to keep the dead people anyways, to the end. I didn't create the saying. Yeah. Hiding lovers and monsters little kids believe in could be in the closet, but now the skeletons are the oppressed ones and demand their space in the closet as well. I hope it's a walk-in closet or something with all that junk. Bay and squad, yeah. Squad goals, don't get murdered. I walked out of the door and handed the collective evidence to the appropriate person. Kimberly started with me, her shorter legs moving a little faster to match my stride. Cop and a hotel manager stepped out of the elevator as we approached. The cop said, here's the... Kimberly grabbed the list of employees, offered thanks, and followed me into the elevator. We really need to work and get letting people finish their sentences, I said, as the steel door shut. No time. Back at the precinct. So I think at this point, like, we really... I know I'm beating a dead horse. Need some deets on the demons. So because he just kind of is investigating with, okay, let's go into a club. That's pretty much it. But there's not much else there. So such death, such macabre. Here come the deets. I'm excited. Kimberly hadn't briefed him on it, but she'd apparently done it on purpose. She wanted to see me suffer and be the one to do it. Something about justice. Kimberly was a monster. I stood in the break room watching Chief Jennings reach into the microwave to grab a cup of ramen. He was also a big man around the belly. So something to be aware of is there is very light conflict here. Also, just a heads up, there isn't much conflict. It's above scene, besides the little elevator struggle. Set the main character up with a goal and give him some obstacles. Maybe he would try and cover something up because he knows this lady. So I would really, I think the biggest challenge or one of the biggest concerns is in that first scene is it's pretty heavily expository. Conflict to come in this next scene, awesome. But just be aware that the most important scene for there to be a very strong goal with a very strong opponent is in those early ones. So just think about that. I mean, it's not necessary. You don't always have to have it, but it really does. It's a huge help. So I stood in the break room. Chief Jennings reached into my microwave to grab a cup of ramen, big around the belly. And I was an inch past 6 feet. He had a full head of gray hair, and most of the building believed he wore a toupee. The station had a running bet going for the past few years. Who could manage to knock the figure off his head without raising suspicion? It was a harder task than one might have thought. He didn't let people get too close. A man of your stature should treat yourself to something a little classier than noodles in a cup, sir, I said. It's all good. It's all good. No worries. Spelling is fine. I turned around and leaned to the counter, twirling noodles in a plastic cup. In my office, he said. Is there a fresher line? Oops. Is it video? Squad, put him in a coffin. Look up squad, put him in a coffin if you don't know what that is. Alright, I'm going to do it.
Squad shit. Squad shit. Squad. Why you slopping? Thought you was raw. Sorry, rock shit. Squad. Michael Jordan. What's up? What's up, man? Oh shit. Put him in the coffin. What's going on? Oh, man. I love you, bro. Move around. Put him in the coffin. What? Put him in the coffin. Put him in the coffin. Look at that. Michael Jordan. Man. Squad. Put him in the coffin. Squad. Put him in the coffin. Put him in the coffin. Hey. What's up, man? What's up, pussy? Michael Jordan. You ever heard of Michael Jordan? Of course. Michael Jordan. Okay. Bro just put in the coffin, they fixing the car. Think it's sweet squad. Gang. Put him in the coffin.
Beat times 5.
So dumb. That's pretty funny, though. Put him in a coffin. Squad. Well, now I know. Now I know. Put him in a coffin. Oh, it's getting late. May have to wrap this one up pretty soon. Gotta put myself in a coffin. Alright. I'll crank through here. Get to our page 10, I think is where we wanted to. Try to be suave, airplane. Come on, Chief. We can talk now. I have all the paperwork right here. You actually do paperwork in a timely manner, James replied, but that shouldn't be something that impresses me, so don't take it as a compliment. Okay, sorry, I didn't catch up. Please don't, boss. No! I think it's hilarious. But the only thing I can say at this moment.
Get back up. You got beat. Till my pain was chicken fried.
It's pretty amazing, I know. It's pretty amazing. You see, I had many hells, and that God-forsaken room was one of them, but the chief made me sit there for a reason. It was punishment. He refused to have proper conversations unless we were trapped within those four walls. He relished the discomfort it brought me. Something to be aware of is, though I know how he feels about the room, I don't really have much details about the room actually looks like. And so this is a pretty great technique. And one of the best examples of this is in Madame Bovary, where it's actually in third person omniscient, but he uses free and direct discourse to show us what Emma Bovary thinks about her husband, who's like, kind of this guy that she's cheating on, and it's really bad. But she has such disdain for him. But she does it through the description, where she's describing him, and she's like, and there was Charles, his, humpback, sitting there, and, he has a mustard stain on his shirt, and he has that stupid cloak. And so, like, she's using all these adjectives that are so negative about just this normal, really sweet guy who's just kind of dumb, and totally crazy about her, which is too bad for him. But that's the way to think about this room, where you have this opportunity where he could describe, hey, like, it's, the plain white walls and, like, those too damn bright lights, so, like, we can get this same commentary, but also do the work of delivering it while we're getting the actual scene. Read Madame Bovary. See how Flaubert is doing that free and direct discourse. And it's a very powerful tool. It's very helpful. One that I need to start using more because I don't use it enough, and it's very effective. When I reached the chief's office, I stood outside the open door and stared at him. This is the second time I resorted to such a tactic. Maybe I just wait until I return from lunch. Into the demonic abyss. One thing to be aware of is that we are using this term in a different context. Be careful about these images. Same image, different context. The reader will associate these. So me, the reader, is already trying to connect this and be like, oh, is like, because we mentioned demons, is this reference to demons important in some sense? So just be aware. Boss, read the next line. He's not in the room yet. He's not in the room yet. Are you a fan of Resident Evil? Resident Evil fan? I decided to take a break from the TV drama I was watching. It started to give me a headache. What gave you that idea? I'm a fan, but not of Ashley. Closing the colored blinds, I whirled around, screaming the lines, "What the F?" to see an evil grin on Kimberly. I stood there at the closing blinds, the window. I was sweating, nervous in my surroundings. The pictures, we already kind of get that he's nervous by the fact that he's sweating. I was sweating. The pictures on that wall suffocating my conscience. Which pictures? Like, part of me should have thanked Kimberly for taking the reins off my hesitant hands. Oh, now that he's in the room. Ah, I see. And the pictures will be explained in the coming chapters. Okay. I stood there waiting for my chief. Demonic and demons. You can use the other words to reference a bit of the thing like hellish and devilish or curse. It's true. That's true. It's a good observation. For 5 minutes, I stood there waiting for the chief. I didn't look at the walls, the desk, or anything else that wasn't the carpet. Honestly, it felt more like 5 hours. The door finally opened. Chief Jennings walked in without a single word. He sat down, chair squealing under his weight. "Have a seat," he instructed. I did, and slowly looked up. He was reclining in his rolling chair. Every photo frame that sat on it faced me. That wasn't an accident. Quickly, I glanced away to nothing in particular. Deferred to avoid the teenage boy in these photos. The teenage boy, his face caked with foundation. Okay, back then. try to get onto him because he was called a drag queen, tyranny, he, she, queer, whatever, derogatory name that my crew of friends and I knew when we were younger. The teenage me had been a pains me to know. I'd once used such terms. We speak of demons a lot, but I was the scariest of them all. That's the part that haunts me. The boy was dead because of me. The father seated across the desk was childless because of me. Okay, good. We're getting some info here. Though I still don't see at least for now. What do you got for me, Sanderson? I took a deep breath. My eyes glazed over. He took a moment to share my discomfort. Are there any leads? Lab had fingerprints and evidence. Detective Lee is going through the Hyatt employees list. She should be stopping by shortly. And you've prepared questions? You have a direction you're going? Yes, sir. To wait for the hubby so we can watch it together? Yeah, I've had a few people. Yeah, Game of Thrones is so good. There's the conflict. There's the deets. That's true. The one thing I would say is the issue I might take a little bit with this conflict is that I don't see a strong goal from the protagonist yet. He seems a little bit reactive. Boss likes to be spoon-fed. It's true. Simplicity. Clarity is God. I will say that again. Clarity is God in writing. Clarity is God in writing. It is better to be clear than mysterious. It is better to be clear than clever. It is better to be clear than all things in writing. Clarity is God. You cannot tell a story unless it's well understood what you're saying. So I'm not saying that you're running into that problem here, but those types of things when you're like, it's going to be more clear later, those are always evidences of the fact that you may be compromising that a bit. You may be compromising clarity for the sake of suspense or for the sake of these things. It is never worth it to make that trade ever. So in the first one, for example, I was getting the sense that some of the details that could have been added about who this woman's relationship, the dead woman's relationship with him was, were sacrificed a little bit because you wanted to build a suspense about who this woman was. Maybe not. That's just speculation. But that may not be a trade-off that will pay dividends. So I'm going to go ahead and call it. I'm going to go up to the top here and write a few notes and just some overall stuff. I think the good stuff is the writing's good. The writing's clear. He has a really great voice. I like the mysterious murder. It implies a goal and a truth to be discovered. He was 14 years old. Ah, I see. So things that improve is I would isolate your tone early. Do you want it to have levity, or how much, and how should it balance with the intense content of these scenes and the setup? So the character is delivering us the setup that this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. It's so dark and horrible. It's the worst. But then he's joking about it. Because the character is telling me both of these things, those feel dissonant. Young people killing language are the ones that have gone before them. Insolence. Yeah. The other thing I think about is we need a goal for the main character. He seems to just be reacting to a grisly scene and a police chief. bossing him around. What does he want? What is he striving for? How are these events stopping him from that? Same questions. Yeah, so what does he want in the first scene? So I think my biggest complaint probably with the first scene is I don't know what he plans to do about it. So he runs into the situation where his friend is dead. This person he knows has died. And he just is like, okay, like just start going through the crime scene motions. She has a thing on her wrist, doing the Sherlock thing. But what does he want to get out of it? Does he try to hide something? Maybe he's like, oh my gosh, they're going to find out that I had a relationship with her, that we had dated for a long time. They're going to think it was me. And we were supposed to meet at this hotel earlier today, but I missed the meeting, so I need to hide. I need to find her cell phone and hide it so they can't see that we were about to have a meeting. Those types of things really spice up these scenes. So it's a really good way to add that conflict is adding a goal. What does he want to do? Okay, he's been given this new situation. One of his friends has died. What does he want to do about it? What does he want to do about it? I would really drive that question home because I feel like that was a little bit light. I think it's there, and it may just take a little bit of kind of digging up to get. Rephrasing. Oh, yeah, and the interiority. That was my other big note. Yeah, I think those are my big notes. Overall, great job. I think this is an awesome start. I think this is a fun, cool story. So, I mean, like, one, well done. It's no easy task to kind of, put a great story together like this and to make it be so fun and engaging from the start. So, great job. I was, reading, riveted. So well done. You should be very proud of yourself. I think this is an awesome story, an awesome start, because it sounds like you have a little bit of ways yet to write. You have a lot of, it sounds like you're 14,000 words in, and I don't know how long you're planning on making it, but it's going to be a fun ride, so get excited. I think you have a really good foundation here. I'm going to go ahead and go to bed. I'm very sleepy, sadly. Some file storage for Game of... I'm glad I don't watch Game of Thrones, so I don't have to talk to coworkers about Game of Thrones. Lol. It's true. It's a pretty fun... read the books. I would say read the books if you're not into the whole show. The show's a little bit excessive. A little bit of gratuitous nudity in there. If you're not okay with that, that's fine. But the books are well worth it. The books are very good. And he still has some pretty harsh language, but it's not nearly as extreme as the show. But also great reads. Fantastic works of storytelling. In Game of Thrones, look at the goals. Every character has a goal in every scene. They're trying to drive for something. It's very good to think about. Since the season is totally different than the book, yeah. Well, this season is totally new. The book hasn't even gotten this far yet, so we're in open territory. Show's a lot better when I still follow the book. Those I've read is like Tolkien to me is so boring to read, almost like the Bible. That's true, but Jon Snow is Bay. Jon Snow. Yeah, my Foxy Lady would say the same thing. Resident Evil Foxy Lady would spoon, I think, for Jon Snow, which is okay. You gotta let a girl have her dreams. Has Pest gotten a little worse? Yeah, I don't know. I've been enjoying both. I just kind of, I just watch and enjoy, and yeah, Milsandra is pretty cool. Well, she was in Fast 6 or something as like the hacker lady. She the hottest. Yeah, Milsandra's pretty cute. But Arya is a badass. That's true. Arya, but a lot of people predict that she might not make it. She's on the track towards a dead Stark, which is understandable. But anyways, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and find someone else to host because I want to make sure I spread the writing love. Give them a nice Twitch raid from us. Give them, say hello. Be extra nice. Oh, Fiction My Diction is on. What a perfect segue to host this dear soul. Yeah, I'm glad this helped. I'm out. This conversation has been derailed completely. Take care, everyone. Good night. Oh no, stick Grenier. Thank you for the donation, by the way. Oh no, that was really kind of you. Donations are never necessary, but it's always great to take Foxy Lady out to a nice dinner or to pay for my website bills. So I appreciate them when they do come. But yeah, thank you so much. It really, really means a lot. I'm really thankful. I think you've been one of probably our all-time biggest donor, and thank you. We do really appreciate it. Also, I want to thank all the people who have been auto-hosting us. Fiction is on. Oh, weird. Maybe something weird's going on with my follow. Anyways, thank you to 667, Imp3nded, SM Wrights, Allison Parler, Casey Magnus, MK Streams, Nightingale Sergeant, Brian Kent, VTV, Erica Drayton, Wordman, Chicken Cross, Smish Smosh. Thank you guys all for the hosts. That's really cool. That's really special to just have you guys supporting us and, hopefully sharing edits with more folks. It looks like...
Alright, let's get started.
Oh, maybe this is a recent stream. I see. That is a recent stream. I see the live channels. There we go. Thank you. I almost just hosted a dead channel, which would have been really embarrassing. I'm so smart. Here we go. Where is creative? There we go.
First one can be.
All right, communities. Writing. Nobody's writing? Good heavens, that's so sad. Oh, there we go. One live. Darn it, that's just me. All right, maybe we'll find the closest thing to writing. We'll say papercraft. So it's in English and Japanese, so that seems interesting. But papercraft is cool, so we're going to go say hello to Oriun. So that's... Tell them hello from us. Wish them the best. Any creative art is hard, and I guess papercraft is similar as writing because it's on paper. So tell them hello from us. Take care, everybody. In the words of Bob Ross, good night and God bless. GGGB.